So today, we were going to talk about like what makes games fun as we're building Generation Overdrive. It's more of an open discussion, but some of the things we're thinking about, like what type of gamer, what makes games fun, some favorite memories. Richard had this really cool like diagram thing, and what games are super not fun. Like what makes games not fun for you. And I have plenty of stories about that. Like mobile poker. I can't do it. It makes me so angry. But who wants to start?
Well, since you mentioned the diagram already, I'll go ahead and start a little bit, just because I think it's really cool. And I'm going to go ahead and post it in our chat so that you guys can see what we're talking about. But there's this company called, I don't know if it's Zeo Design or XEO Design. I think it's XEO. And they're a research company, but specifically research in gaming. And they do this thing where they record players' faces while they're playing the game to learn more about their experience. And they came up with this thing that's the 4 keys to fun. And they find that successful games have to have 3 out of 4, right? So you've got easy fun, hard fun, people fun, and serious fun, right? So and the easy fun is just like, does it feel good? It's like using basketball as the analogy. Like you can just dribble a ball for a little while, and that's fun for a couple of minutes. Just dribbling the ball, that's easy fun, right? And then you get into hard fun where you have more obstacles and it becomes more difficult. Serious fun tends to be more like strategy. There's more thought involved. Generally, that's where you find like your exploration kind of stuff, or like city building games are a lot of serious fun. And then people fun is like the social stuff. Among Us is a great example of that. Where I don't think that game would be successful if it wasn't a social game, right? And if you have 3 out of 4 and you do those 3 things well, generally they find that is an engaging game for these people, that they've recorded their faces to watch their emotions on their faces.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think you could have easy fun and hard fun?
Yeah, well, I don't think you can have hard fun without having easy fun. Like, because you have to have the easy fun first. Because a lot of the times, the easy fun can be just the controls, right? How does it feel to move this character around, right? And if that doesn't feel good, you're not going to get to the hard fun. You're going to stop before you get that far.
Easy fun is like the gateway fun.
Right. Yeah, it is.
Dare to keep kids off fun.
I guess you could think of that too, like a tic-tac-toe, just something simple, easy, not very engaged, like not super taxing, cerebral. Not a lot of challenge that's reflex or timing or anything like that, but it's more just casual, light fun. But still, maybe tic-tac-toe can get stale fast, but easy games that you can keep playing. Like Among Us is super easy fun.
Yeah. It's still competitive.
Yeah. It's like, remember, Richard might remember LARPing. Mm-hmm. At its core, the system that you need to understand is how to play rock, paper, scissors. Not terribly difficult, but the interactions and everything that leads to a deeper complexity, that hard fun of interacting with people on a social level and having the statistics to back it up and all these things, and all those things play into it. You end up having, there's varying complexities, and for some people, the easy part isn't even registering. It's so easy that the hard stuff becomes easier. So it's going to be very personal to each person, or no shit.
Yeah.
Very individual, I should say.
And then moving on to some of the other questions that you had posted, just on that negative experience that you were talking about. Some of the MMOs out there, most of the MMOs out there, I've never gotten very far into because it's a chore. Particularly WoW is the perfect example of that. I have tried playing that so many times because so many of my friends were into it. So they do the social fun really well. But they don't do the hard fun well, at least early on. I never got past level 20 before I got tired of it. Running here to drop off stuff and then running all the way back across the map. You're just running errands.
A lot of times too, that you're talking about WoW. It's a great example of a game that, if you come in and it's been there for a few years, I feel this way with League. It's that you've got all these players who are really well established. They move that whole meta towards a distant end, and so getting in and being able to play as a noob, it can be. All that stuff was for the new players was built out, 10 years back. It's not friendly for new players at this point when all the focus has been on that development for late stage players.
I think you find that with a lot of the Battle Royale games too. Is that you have so many people who have been playing it like semi-professionally or even completely professionally. That if there isn't a good separation between the established players and the new players, that it's not fun to die in the first 5 seconds.
Yeah, I think too with MMOs, there's this majority of people that play MMOs don't like grinding, but you have to grind to get to the fun part of the game. That's how, for whatever reason, that's how MMOs have built themselves, and maybe that's why they're failing so much. But when you get to that end game, it is a great time. And a lot of people, you have to go through that first grind phase in order to get to the end of an MMO and to appreciate that. If you don't ever get to that point, then it's probably gonna be F these games. And I can't even play them anymore because it takes too long. There's too much time involved.
But why should it be that way?
I don't know. I don't think it should. That's why sandbox games like Valheim and stuff, they start you, they don't start you at the end game, but they start you with all those resources and ability to have that fun that you would, it would take the time to get to in a game like World of Warcraft.
I was reading something about the psychology behind World of Warcraft specifically, and it's gambling psychology, right? It's you do the grind, and they put the serotonin giving thing at the end of that grind, and then they rinse and repeat, just enough to keep you hooked. But if you don't put that reward at the right place, it's either too early and it's not as fulfilling, or it's too late and you've lost the player.
Yeah, that's one of the unfortunate parts about a lot of game dev now, is that it's so tied into the stuff that the pros at IGT were doing 20 years ago, and to make the experience in casinos more lucrative, that it's shifted its focus away from being about players to being about how do we separate people from cash.
Yeah.
And it's free to play is a great example. In most free to play games, if you're not paying for a game, you're not the customer. That's a sad fact of life. you're not the customer. At that point, the customer is the ad provider. It's, whoever they're selling the data to. That's the problem. And, I think a lot of the reason that you have those grind mentalities is because it's all about making money. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, World of Warcraft is just a game I couldn't ever get into. It was just like, but like I did grind. It's a certain level of grind that I'm willing to take. Like in multiplayer, I'll play League, I'll play StarCraft, I'll play like a lot of shooter games and just practice to get better and better and better. And I have terrible times. Like I know I'll have to lose like 100 games before I start winning like consecutive games in a row. And that part to me is always a challenge because like I feel like I'm pretty competitive, but the fun is at the end when, for me, like when you can actually have that skill built in. Me and Nate will play League of Legends, and it feels so bad when you play a 40-minute game and you lose. When you're trying, or like if you have a troll on your team, that's a hard part too of that game, is that you're always invested into a team. So like you can have one person, I mean there's countless games Nate and I can talk about where a person just leaves in the middle of a match. I'm like, oh, okay, well can't get out of it.
Yeah,
makes it tough.
Do you want to go back to the game after that 40 minutes? Obviously you do, but what makes you want to go back? Like what's your feeling at if you invest 40 minutes and then you lose?
I don't know. It's just it happens. So it's hard to get around that, but it's worth it because there are the fun stories that are out of it. The things that are unique, why I love multiplayer games like Battle Royale games like Warzone or PUBG, when PUBG was it never really worked properly, but when it was popular, games like that, because every game's different. You can have a strategy and you can do similar things, but no two games really are alike. And so I think that's one of the, when I play our game too, that's kind of what really makes me like attracted to it, is that each game could be so inherently different, even with a similar strategy.
I think you're muted.
You're muted.
Me? Couldn't be. I should hear you.
Leave it to Mario to have connection.
Still muted.
He's
totally literally the only
has
person
no idea
who's hardwired into the system right now. Is the person.
Yeah, I think going off what Steven said, like the things that make I guess just high level, the things that make games fun for me is like cooperativeness and competitiveness. So like being able to play with friends and being able to play with friends on a team and play against people or PvE, and being able to like come across challenges that you never thought you could beat, and then working at it and then being able to beat those, like that, overcoming that challenge. And it's a very, big sense of accomplishment. It makes you feel good. Those moments where you can have those, it's super nerdy, but like having those moments in League where you 3v1 someone and it ends up, winning the game for you. Or another example would be like old school, like I played EverQuest back in the day, like raiding with 50 people and killing some major raid boss. It's like super hard. Like, I mean, they're hard. There's all these different strategies you have to remember for these bosses, and it's really fulfilling being able to take those down, and especially when you're one of only a few people on the server that have done it, or a few guilds on the server. So there's different variations of it, of what makes it fun for me, but it's all kind of ties back to playing with other people and having that team sense, and also the competitiveness with others.
Yeah, I still remember when you triple, or like you got that delayed penta, and I was like, oh my god, And like
Yeah,
Nate
that was
won
fun.
us a game, like, and everybody was dead. He killed all the people. I was just, those are the memories. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Isn't it cool that you can sit in front of a screen and have either a keyboard or a joypad and talk about your experience that you took down a boss, took down a dragon, you did these big adventures, but you're just sitting in front of a
Right.
screen, you know?
Yeah.
There's something about, like you asked Steven at the top, like what makes a game fun? There's something about that interaction model of interfacing with the game and being teleported into this, you know, whatever it is, whether it's Tetris or, you know, Final Fantasy or anything in between, that you can have these live out these kind of, you know, visceral
The immersion.
fantasies. Yeah, that immersion is really interesting. It doesn't have to be like a big, you know, epic saga of a game. It can be something small, you know, like Among Us or Tetris or whatever, you know.
Like Parking Escape. Like, I know it's stupid, but
Mhm.
sitting down and playing a puzzle game, you know, can have its own level of immersion where you're focused on solving something that gets your brain whirring. Just that feeling of, you know, okay, I'm just gonna play one level, and 5 levels later you're like, okay, you know, I'm just maybe just one more. It's that I don't think there's one attribute that is gonna make something, you know, fun. Even looking at that diagram, you know, 3 of 4 is a, you know, it might make sense for a lot of games, but sometimes
There are always
you know,
exceptions.
yeah, like a puzzle game is a great example. You know, you've got, you know, if a puzzle is too easy, it's not fun. And so, you know, maybe having easy mechanics, easily understood mechanics, will make it somewhat enjoyable. But having complexity of a problem is what really makes that. But you're not going to have a social element involved in that. You're not going to have, you know, I've got tons of little metal puzzles that I sit down with at night, and I've solved them 1,000 times, and they still, you know, they'll still trap me up. You know, I'll have to remember which one it was, how to do it, and it's still fun.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah, if I had to abstract, like what are the commonalities between all games, interactive experiences that are fun? It's like at a high level, there's a clear target or goal of what I'm trying to accomplish. There's some level of challenge involved, and that challenge doesn't have to be hard challenge. It can be just you know, a creative challenge. You know, it's like Minecraft. I'm trying to recreate a castle, you know what I mean, from Disneyland or whatever. Like there's a creative challenge, or it can be a skillful challenge, like in a game of Call of Duty. And then there's some form of reward, and that reward, you know, can be something that's more intrinsic and not like extrinsic, where you get like a medal, but it could be just the satisfaction of, I built my castle, now here's my castle, how does it look? Cool. So that's intrinsic motivation of, cool, I built a castle, and now maybe I can share that castle with my friends and they can look at it, and I get that validation from the community. So it's that social kind of, you know, cool, now I'm satisfied. Or it couldn't be you get to the top of the leaderboards and you beat the other team in League of Legends, you know. But there's that kind of framework, that there's a consistent framework, and obviously there's a whole bunch of other elements too, of like the execution of creating that world, and how easy is it for me to build that castle and review my work and share that work, you know, and how fun is it smacking on the bricks to, you know, in Minecraft, you know. It's just making all that ludic and strong feedback. Those are elements that make the experience on a visceral level, on a emotional surface level fun.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, just getting into it, like, is the context, is the game, I don't want not narrative as in like the story, but like, you know, what kind of fun am I looking for at the time? Do I want something that's like Parking Escapes, where I just want, you know, 15, 20 minutes of decompression and fun and challenge my mind? like a crossword puzzle, or do I want to spend 2 hours in front of the TV and go into Skyrim or whatever? There's so many different kinds of fun. It's like so different. If you ask me like, how do you make it? What's a good movie? It's pretty easy to answer that, but a game, boy, there's so many different kinds of games you could make.
Well, it's so different too. Like, if I think about what was fun for me, the things that are fun for me when I was growing up, in summer vacation, I would love playing Final Fantasy. Like, I'd have the PlayStation with a bunch of Post-its, like telling my mom, like, I don't care how hot it is, like, don't turn it off. I couldn't afford a memory card thing, so like, if you turned off the power, like, my game was gone. And spent hundreds of hours in that. And Pa Rapper the Rapper, like, games just like that would take so much time. But now, having 2 kids and like trying to fit in gaming in my schedule, like, I have an hour, it's become highly social. It's like that time where I connect with my brother. Like, I play Call of Duty with my brother. Sometimes I'll play with Boone. Sometimes I'll play a game of League with Nate. And it's more of a time to catch up socially than it is about winning, or it is about accomplishing anything in game. And so, like, and then I went through a very competitive phase.
That's why we lose all the time.
Yeah. Well, I went through a competitive phase. Like, I didn't have kids. I was just graduating college. I got to Diamond in StarCraft. I got to Plat 1 in League of Legends. Like, I spent all this time. I would create Excel sheets. I would study the game and like do all this stuff. And then it's just time. Like, I would hate to do that now. So, but at the time, it was like, that was so much fun. Like, I think time is a huge element too, like your stage of life.
Absolutely.
A novelty. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
On the stage of life, that's something that I hear a lot, particularly from my age group. We were raised with games, right? I mean, like, we were kind of the first generation that was raised with video games, and but so many of it. I mean, we have life, we have kids, we have jobs, we have aspirations that take up so much of our time, that I see a lot of former gamers that could still be gamers if there were games that catered to their lack of time. That you could have a short session and have it still be fulfilling. So that's a really good point about your stage of life makes a difference as to it's like being able to play Final Fantasy for an 8-hour day like I used to when I was a teenager on the weekend is not something that I would be able to do now.
Imagine the kids running around.
Right.
TV. I can't do that anymore either.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be fun for me because I would feel like I'm neglecting my other responsibilities.
Yep. Becomes a burden almost.
Yeah.
I do miss those games. The in the screen, like, do it together, like Super Mario Brothers, like 2 of you would run around, like I think Ninja Turtles. There was a lot of like Sega Genesis games, and like I remember I was one of the fools that bought a TurboGrafx 16, but like
I was right there with you. Bonks was the best game.
Bonks Adventures, yes. But like being able to play with my brother, like or your neighbor, and that's something that I feel I wish there was more of, because I'm
couch style multiplayer.
Yeah, something enjoyable, like it's
statistically tough. Game developers are the only people who enjoy couch co-op.
That's
really
crazy.
Well, it's big on Switch. Nintendo community still likes that.
It's really funny, but they've done a bunch of studies recently, and it was most popular among game developers.
Yeah.
In the office testing things out.
I'm always in my minority, always pushing for couch co-op. Yeah.
Game developers are probably the most nostalgic about games, right?
I'm sure.
The games that we grew up with are what brought us into this industry.
Yeah. It's perfectly fair.
It's funny too, because now when I hear the kids talk in the neighborhood, like when I remember at being at that age, it was always like you're playing outside, and then it's like, okay, it's too hot, let's go inside and play video games. And you're playing like Road Rash and like whatever. I remember like Street Fighter Turbo was on the NES. Like we'd sit there and play those couch co-op games. But it's interesting now, like when I hear the kids, they're like, oh, did you get this skin in Fortnite? And like that's all it is. Oh, show me. And it's like they're not playing, which is weird. They're like not playing the game, but I see them, they're in this garage and just logging in, taking turns and just showing off their stuff. It's interesting.
Well, because they can be home and playing.
Yeah.
Well, they almost have to be home and playing, right? I mean, because it's not same screen playing. Like if they want to play, only one of them can play unless you have multiple computers, right?
But they've all got Fortnite's on every freaking device, and
true.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, yeah, now kids will be running around with their tablets and their phones, and they'll all be pulling up their stuff together. Mm-hmm. But when they want to go and play, they'll play together. They're just playing together at their own houses.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's like a new, like
goes Mario again.
When I played, brown box again. When I played, back when we gamed before, there were no skins or anything like that. So I don't think that was ever a focus for us. Like, I don't know if you guys like that kind of stuff now. I don't personally like skin. I don't really care about that stuff as much. I mean, I'll take one, but it's not my focus. Like kids now, it's like Steven was saying, they'll come like there's this kid that my fiance's friend's kid. He comes over once in a while and he shows me like all his Fortnite stuff that he's gotten, and he knows I don't play that game, but he just shows it all to me because it's like that's his thing, Like, and he doesn't even care about playing. He just cares about earning stuff and like the cool skins he's got. That's not my generation. I feel like that's more so the newer generation. Am I wrong there? I don't know. Do you guys feel that way?
Historically, I think skins have always kind of existed. Like if you could have Ryu in the white gi, the red gi, the blue gi, you know what I mean? We've always had there's always been that kind of option in games, in multiplayer games. And now it's just a phenomenon where the game is free, and now there's a trend of monetizing around those skins, the cosmetics. Whereas in the old, I remember when those started showing up, it was like, wait a minute, when you'd buy a retail product, you'd get that with the game. Why are we paying for that now? But it's the business model, how they monetize with a free game.
Yeah, I kind of, when I was thinking about it, it's kind of like you're getting those Pokemon card decks and like you can get that random one. It's that prestige of having that rare, because they're doing that too. They're like, all these kids are carrying this binder full of Pokemon cards. Like, hey, look at what I got. My nephew is the same way. Like he would come over. I don't play Fortnite, and he would show me all his Fortnite stuff. It's like, this is one I had to go into this event and sit there for 30 hours and help do this. And I'm like,
well, I think you have a couple of types of players that works for. You do have the ones that are like the achievement players, right? They get a skin that is, it's an epic skin that you can only get during this season at this, in this tournament, kind of thing. And that's one type of player. But then you also have the aesthetic player, right? The player that likes to, color match all of their stuff. And I think that we've had some degree of that since we've had, I think Doom was probably one of the original games that you could mod, or that modding became a big thing, and people could, people had Barney as the big purple dinosaur as their enemies and that kind of stuff, and it was all about just changing things to suit yourself, and people like that sort of customization. But it's not for everybody. You're right. It's they're just some people that like to. It's like people who are into building games, I think, are going to be more towards that type of mechanic in other games, of being able to customize your characters visually.
Yeah. It's that leaderboard street cred thing too, like at the arcades. Yeah. I remember, I
wonder how many of the modders from our generation ended up becoming game developers. I wonder if that's if there's a strong tie to that.
Sure. Yeah.
There are a number of so I've been listening to a couple of game dev podcasts, and you'd be surprised at how many people that are in the industry, they come onto these podcasts to do interviews, and they got their starts either creating Flash games or modding other games.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I remember all the StarCraft mods. There'd be like such troll mods in there. Like, those are pretty fun though. Oh man. So what makes a game like not fun?
Controls is one of the first things that can really like barrier to entry. If the controls are bad right off the spot like bat, it's hard to get into it. Confusing interface, like just unclear goals. Anytime anything like that can be frustrating. Like as far as like a game that you sat down and said, I think I'm gonna enjoy this. Hopefully I'm gonna enjoy this. Like it's the kind of game I want to play. But there are certain genres that are just not fun for me.
Yeah.
It's funny how our tolerance for controls has changed too. I went back and played one of my favorite games growing up was Daggerfall, which I recently went back because it's free on Bethesda's site. God, those controls were terrible. They were absolute crap. I'm like, how did I ever play this? Like I'm in the intro level going, wait, what do I do here? How did I control this for so many hours? Love that game, and now I can't even sit and play it again.
It's so funny that you mentioned Bethesda, because I literally, I think just last week, said, I'm going to do some retro gaming for my stream, and went and played the original Fallout. And I couldn't even leave that initial cave. I'm just like, nope, I can't do it. This is so bad. How did I play this for hours when I was younger?
And that's surprisingly easier. That one was basically point and click at that point.
Right.
I thought the same thing with GoldenEye. I played that. My friend had it, and we're like, "Oh, we should play it." Like we all remember, like, "Oh, GoldenEye! It was such a great game." And then I picked it up. I'm like, "What in the hell?" And then I was like, "Oh my god, you have to push the C buttons to move." I'm like, "This is so terrible."
Nostalgia is a bitch.
We've gotten spoiled.
Oh man.
And the trigger was on the left hand, and my hand was like all like, yeah. I don't know.
What a controller, huh?
That was so weird.
N64? Dang.
That D-pad was on the separate thing.
There's 3 controllers in one. So weird, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how like mobile controls progress over time, because I think right now they're a little.
There's got to be some changes. Yeah, there's got to be, because I mean, nothing's changed. The sad fact is that we've had mobile devices for over 10 years now, and inputs really haven't changed, and
I guess
they need to.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people now are just buying controllers that connect to your phone. Is that like the that's a quick fix?
Or your phone fits into it, sort of like the so it ends up looking like the Switch.
Yeah. I like if they had little Switch controllers like on a phone. I'd be down with that.
They're available, sort of like that.
That's cool.
And basically, they're all MFI controllers for iPhone. I don't know what the equivalent is for Android, but they're really easy to use. It's actually not too bad to travel with your phone on a little stand and a controller. Yeah, surprisingly powerful nowadays.
Yeah.
Played all of Symphony of the Night on my phone.
Really?
Nice.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was a fantastic experience.
Bluetooth controller? Not touching.
Basically, I used
one inch cord. It's like
no, just I used an Xbox controller.
Oh,
Uh,
dang.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You can connect it like any other MFi on an iPhone.
Oh, yeah. I did that with when we were testing out.
Yep. Geno?
Polina.
No, Geno.
It was, yeah.
Because we didn't. That was one of the things we didn't. We should have done it,
Yeah.
but we didn't do MFi controllers for Kulanu Mobile. That would have been a much better experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Regrets. I've had a few.
that's tough because, like, I remember things not being fun before, and then there was like this age, I don't know, like 2003 to 2000, I don't know, 10, where lag was like the thing I hated most because like everything was transitioning to like online play. And I remember Halo 2 because I played an ungodly amount of Halo 2. And it was all about getting a number, and I think I got to like a 46 or 47. Like it was like really, really high, where if you lost a game, you would like dump down to like a 42 or 43. And there was no like 50s. Like 50s, like you never lost a game. It was, they would just show everybody's score.
Oh, they were pros.
Yeah,
Pros are 50s.
they would show like your number right next to your name. I think once you hit over like 30 or something. And I remember lagging out of a game and like losing my mind, like, oh my god, because like we would have won, and it's just like, But like, how do you guys feel about that? Does that like ruin a game since it's not part of a game, right? Like, or is it? I don't know.
Like a ranking system, or
No, like lag, right? Like
Oh,
PUBG
lag.
like was terrible. Like it was super fun. Like I had so much fun, but then you would have those like lag issues.
I would not play multiplayer first-person shooters if I had to deal with serious lag. I mean, there have been times when there have been internet issues and the rubber banding. I'm just like, nope, I'm gonna do it. But the other interesting thing with that is the disconnects to avoid a loss for the ranked people.
Oh my god.
And there's been some news lately about how different companies are handling that. I'd have to pull up the articles to see exactly what they were doing, but it's being addressed in some of the newer games that, like if you disconnect at the end of a match, before it's ranked, there's a penalty. For some of these companies, and other companies are doing it other ways. But it's interesting because I have a friend who actually built a lag switch. So it's this device that goes between their computer and their router. They could do, depending on the game, they could do some interesting things, like intentionally rubber band to gain an advantage, or disconnect if it was. Like if they were about to lose, so that it wouldn't affect their ranking, that kind of stuff.
Mario, does that sound familiar?
Well, yeah, no, but that's the thing. Like, depending on what we're trying to do, if we're just having a leisure game, I don't mind lag because I'm not like it's not about winning. You know what I mean? So I can accept 15 frames, 20 frames. You know what I mean? It's like we'll still have fun. I'll still get a couple shots in. But I remember when we were younger with the old PlayStation and N64 machines, that generation, we put up with a lot of lag.
Oh my god.
Back then, as long as it didn't stop, and you got at least 15 frames. But sometimes it would dip down.
Oh my god.
Turok,
did you guys ever play that game?
Turok.
Oh my god.
I just got it on the Switch.
There was one part with a waterfall. I remember I'm like, I'm starting to feel sick. It was just like, what am I looking at?
Yeah. The pea soup was like just fog 15 feet in front of you. It was awesome.
I can't remember. Yeah. There's a lot of games that the frames would drop like crazy until Nintendo sold that thing. The little thing you put into the
jumper
front.
pack, I think? Yeah.
I don't know what it's called. It was red on top. I remember that.
Yeah. Yep.
You just stick it in.
So useless. They only had it for one game. I think it was for Banjo-Tooie.
Really?
Maybe one other game. Yeah.
I think I got it because of Perfect Dark.
Yeah, Perfect Dark had it too.
Yeah.
That was bad frame rate.
Oh
That
my
was a real deception. That was because you loved GoldenEye, and then Perfect Dark comes out. It's supposed to be better, but it's 12 frames a second. Oh,
Jeez.
man.
Yeah, I remember.
Like stop motion.
Terrible.
I remember going to Toys R Us and buying that. It was sold out forever. Like I would go back every day.
Yeah.
Because like every time in Perfect Dark, I remember you throw a grenade and like everything would be like, like it's like chugging so hard. Those are good.
That game could have been so good if it were better frame rate. I think it was Donkey Kong 64 as well that had the jumper pack. Or the boost, whatever it's called. Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite memories?
Man, me, I'll never forget the time I figured out how to go down stairs in Zelda, first Zelda. It's always going to stick with me because it was the first time, like you'd never seen that pattern before of stairs in a game. Like it wasn't a symbol that meant anything at the time. So when I saw that in one of the dungeons, it was like, okay, that's just some weird mosaic texture. And you couldn't, because the way the progression was, you needed to go down into that cave to get the raft so you could start exploring more of the world. So I was stuck. And for a couple months, I just kept exploring the same small area of Zelda, of the map, because I couldn't get across the lake. And one day I went into that room, one night, I went into the room, I walked around the blocks that were, because you're supposed to push a cube to get access to it. And I just bumped against it by accident, and the thing just slid, and it made the jingle. I'm like, what the heck just happened? And I walked closer, and I walked over that symbol of stairs, and then the screen changed, and my character went down to this side view of a thing, and I saw a raft, and I flipped out. I was like, what is going on here? My mind was blown. And I got the raft and I went out and I said, obviously that's got to work with those stupid little, docks that you saw in some areas of the map. Like I pattern matched it. I figured that that's what
the dock that looked exactly like the raft, you mean?
Yeah. So I went to it, and then when you touch it, you walk over it, and then you hear the and you start rafting across. My mind was blown. That just right there. I loved like Mario Brothers and all the other games at the time, and like the arcades. But that really turned games to me into like it just blew my passion for games through the roof. I'll never figure that.
Mine's probably beating Halo on Legendary for the first time, the first one, and then EverQuest. Like I would go back to EverQuest because I had a lot of good experiences there. I think because I was younger and it was like my first, like I don't know, experience co-oping a lot. Like I just played single player games before that, or couch co-op games. So just defeating raid mobs with my guild.
For me, I always remember. I knew I was a troll in games when first time I was playing Battletoads. There's a level where there's all these like little sticks, and you grab the sticks and you swing from one side to another, like just on platforms. And so Battletoads was one of those games, I think it was on the Genesis, where like you could couch co-op and there's two people, but it would screen lock like whether the person in the back or the person in the front. And so I'd always swing, and then my friend would jump to get to the next thing, and then I'd like wait and like not swing, because you would have to press and your legs would kind of like pump you like a swing, and I'd screen lock him, and then he would have to like not get the rope because it'd be just outside of the screen and he'd die.
That's terrible.
It was good times. Those are my favorite. Being a troll in those couch co-op, because
Steven loves being a troll.
I think online some of it's lost, right? You don't see the anger, but like when they're sitting right next to you,
you don't see the anger.
Oh man.
Say my probably fondest memories are all going back to the 8-bit Nintendo or the Super NES. With the 8-bit Nintendo, I remember the first game where I felt a real sense of accomplishment in beating the game was Metroid.
That was a tough-ass game.
It was a tough game. But it also had some really unique mechanics for the time. Like I love the little pill ball that the rolling the ball and to get to other areas and that kind of stuff. And then just spending days especially during the summer playing what was the US Final Fantasy II on the Super Nintendo.
It was a great game.
It was a fantastic game. I miss turn-based RPGs. Like I know people still do JRPGs, but I would love to see. And this is, I'm probably in the minority of this, but I was so disappointed with the Final Fantasy remake. I haven't played it, but just hearing that it's not a turn-based RPG, that they've totally revamped the mechanics, so it's an action RPG.
Yeah.
That's how the last one they came out with was too, I think. 16. What was it, 15 or 16?
15, yeah, 15 is definitely like that. I do have that one, and I do still enjoy their games. They're always way ahead with the graphics, right? And so just these beautiful environments, really creative characters, wonderful plot lines. But I miss being able to just sort of sit and strategize as I'm in the battle.
I get that.
Did you guys ever, speaking of hard games, did you guys ever play the Lion King game on Sega Genesis?
Yes.
Yeah.
That game is ridiculously hard. Like for being a kid game.
Yeah. I remember that game at freaking Toe Jam and Earl. I don't know if you've ever played that one.
I love Toe Jam.
Like the alien and the boombox guy. We could never get past like level 5. It was just like, all right, we're done.
Yeah, that's it.
Mario has my favorite rage quit game, Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah.
First level, I can never get past. This is miserable.
Going back a little bit to the whole customizing your character kind of thing. Speaking of Genesis, there was an evolution game. Do any of you remember that, where you start out as like a fish and you evolve and you can customize how you evolve?
Yeah. Seaman, was it Dreamcast? Because I remember Seaman on Dreamcast.
This was before that. This was a Genesis.
I remember.
Evolution?
What was the game where you stick in different like random DVDs and CDs and it would like make a different like thing? That was the thing.
Search for Eden.
Yeah. I never remember that.
The dolphin game, right?
No, that's
Echo. Echo was tight. That game
Echo
was good.
awesome.
Freaking Mario.
Right?
Different book.
Free Willy, right?
Big Willie, not Free Willy.
That game was so good. Echo.
Cut that.
Yeah, let's. All right, that's a wrap.
Rated M for mature.
I gotta take off, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, I had fun talking with you. I'll see you guys later.
All right.
Cool.
See you guys.
Thank you.
You're trying to play a lot of
fans.
Apex just because I'm playing with friends.
Nice.
Nice.
I did some Fallout 4 the other day. I'm going to try and use it to keep me accountable to actually finish it, because I've got hundreds of hours in it, and I've never gotten past where you meet the guy that actually kidnapped your kid, because I keep on restarting.
Oh.
That's cool.
Yeah. I got to the very end of that game too, and I never beat it. It was like the last. I don't know. I know that a bunch of crazy shit happens at the end, like with the story, and I never saw it because I just was like, okay, I'm over it. I put like over 50 hours into it.
Yeah.
It's like a 3-hour long game if you just do the main quest.
Yeah. It's like
It's so hard to just do the main quest.
I know.
Skyrim. Skyrim was like that too. It was like literally 8 hours.
I broke Skyrim, and then I never played again.
I gotta grab something real quick.
I mean, there was a question the other day about like, what game have you put the most money into? I get say, it's got to be one of the Fallout or Elder Scrolls games because I got the original, then the Game of the Year, all of the DLC, and then bought it again for VR. So I'm sure they're going to do a smart appliance version next, and I'll be playing it on my fridge, and I'll pay for that too.
Nice.
How is the VR version? That sounds like it would be interesting.
It is interesting. It's really cool looking, but you have two forms of locomotion, right? You have the classic, just move with a controller, where you're running around, and if you are prone to motion sickness in VR, you're not going to be able to play it that way very long.
Right.
And then the other way is teleportation. And that kind of takes you away from the immersiveness. That's why you get it in VR in the first place. Yeah.
It's so unfortunate that motion sickness, man, it happens to a lot of people. I didn't think it would happen to me, and it did affect me as well. And I was so bummed by it because I was like, oh, now cool, and I get to get immersed into this world, but it's just it's hard to get around that. Unless I know some people, they actually take like pills to
like Dramamine. Yeah. I've thought about doing that, and in theory, if you do it enough, it would be just like getting your sea legs, right?
Interesting. Oh, okay.
You could sort of train your body out of it in theory. Eventually, I'd like to get one of those rigs like the Virtue X Omni or something like that, or if they ever do the omnidirectional treadmill thing well enough. Like, they've got those in development, they work, they just don't work well enough to really be safe.
Yeah. The
dedication right there.
The one that I've got to say is interesting to me for treating motion sickness is they put a big nose.
Huh. Big nose?
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, so there's you'll see in your view like the edge of a nose. So on each view you get half the nose, and apparently having a reference point. It's like having a dashboard. Why you don't get sick in a car is because you've got that dashboard there that references your position. And apparently there's been a bunch of studies on adding a nose, and adding a nose will help with motion sickness.
Well,
that sounds awesome. I like that.
One of the things that's kind of interesting is that there's two types of motion sickness. There's one where your body feels motion that your eye doesn't see, and that's so if you can read in the car and not get motion sickness, you don't have that kind. And then the other kind is that your body doesn't feel motion that your eye does see. And so VR, motion sickness versus seasickness are the exact opposite. And apparently, if you're particularly prone to one, you're less likely to be prone to the other.
I'm prone to both. I'm horribly prone to both. It makes no difference to me. I get on a boat. VR, I'm still I'm trying, but it's rough. I felt sick as a dog last night.
Oh, shit.
Wait, so you guys can see your nose?
What's that?
You can see your nose?
Yeah, I can see mine. I got a big.
Your brain filters it out.
I can see it though. I can see a hint of it.
If you focus on it, you can see just sort of a little outline. Don't go cross-eyed though. It makes me think of the glasses from the Jerk.
See, I was trying to figure out what the hell you're talking about. I'm like, in real life or in this video? Like, what are you talking about? You can't see your nose if you look like...
Well, if you look to the side, you can get a glimpse, a shadow of it. You see a shadow.
Well, yours probably blocks your view, man. You can't. I got a big nose, too. I actually got like a pug nose. It's like flat. You know what I mean? See that thing?
Blocks your view.
All right, so we've derailed this entire conversation into VR nose adaptation observation.